3 years ago, when my husband told me that he was a sex addict, I didn't just discover his secret sexual behaviors. I discovered that I'd been living in what Dr. Omar Minwalla calls an intentionally manipulated reality. This was a life where my husband had been controlling the narrative of our life together for over 21 years and had removed my rights to consent. If you are a woman suffering from betrayal trauma, you are in the right place. Today, we're going to talk about the link between deceptive sexuality and abuse, specifically emotional abuse, and how to achieve safety when you're on the receiving end of psychological and emotional abuse. In this video, I'll share common signs of abuse that betrayed partners encounter. I'll define elements of a healthy, intimate relationship and give 6 actionable steps to get to safety if you're experiencing emotional abuse. I'm Lorna Nickel. I'm the author of I Am Reclaiming Me, a Betrayed Partner's Daily Practice Journal for Women, the co-creator of Coupleship activity cards for reestablishing connection after sexual betrayal, and the host of the podcast by the same name of this YouTube channel, Redesign Yourself Beyond Betrayal. While I'm not a certified therapist, I come to you with 3 years of lived experience as a betrayal trauma survivor and now thriver, insights from hours of therapy sessions, and continued research on the topic of betrayal trauma throughout my healing journey. The content on this YouTube channel is for educational and entertainment purposes only. If you are in the US and are currently experiencing domestic violence, you can contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. If you're experiencing emotional abuse, you can also text the trained crisis counselor at the crisis text line at 741-741. To get things started, I think that we first need to define the word abuse. According to the Oxford Dictionary, abuse is when you treat a person or animal with cruelty or violence, especially regularly or repeatedly. To use something for the wrong purpose in a way that is harmful or morally wrong. I also wanted to add to our understanding before we dig in further that emotional and psychological abuse is still abuse. Just because it doesn't show up as a black eye doesn't mean it should be discredited. All abuse should be taken seriously. I know that there is some debate about the language of abuse and abuser when it's applied to the behavior of sex addicts and to sex addicts themselves. Some people believe that it's too harsh of a term, and I can understand why addicts would want to shy away from that label. Nobody wants to be seen as a terrible person. And at the same time, we need to call the addicts acting out behaviors what they are, abuse. And therefore call the person doing the acting out abuses what they are when they're doing them, which is an abuser. Because if we apply the definitions I just listed, we see that the behaviors are most often cruel, done repeatedly, and are morally wrong. I'm not saying that the label of abuser should stick forever. I'm also not saying that all of the men who are doing the abuse are fully aware that they are abusing their partner while they're in the act. But to honor the truth of the betrayed partner's reality and experiences, I think it's important to use the correct language. Now let's define some key components of a healthy intimate relationship. There are more than this, but here are 10. Mutual respect. When you value each other's opinions, feelings, and boundaries. Open communication. Partners feel safe sharing their thoughts and feelings and are willing to listen to each other without judgment. Trust. A strong sense of confidence in each other's reliability and integrity. Honesty. Being truthful and transparent with each other. Support. Providing encouragement and comfort during both good and challenging times. Empathy, the ability to hold space for sharing each other's feelings. healthy conflict, resolving disagreements constructively with nonviolent communication, boundaries, respecting each other's need for autonomy, safety, and well-being, commitment, a shared dedication to the relationship and willingness to work as a team through challenges together, equality, a sense of fairness and balance in decision-making and power. When we talk about sexual betrayal, most uninitiated people think that it relates solely to the infidelity in a relationship due to an affair partner or porn use. They may not know about the hidden truth that the sexual betrayal is just one part of deceptive sexuality, which is part of a complex system of psychological and emotional manipulation. This is what happens when your partner has built the ultimate web of deceptive sexuality, what Dr. Minwalla describes as the secret sexual basement. Here's the story about the secret sexual basement. Imagine that you have a lovely home with a single floor where most everyone in your family goes about their daily lives, cooking, playing, joking around, watching TV, sleeping, etc. But one person, your husband, has dug a giant hole underneath the floor and constructed an entire basement with a private entrance that nobody else knows about but him. And sometimes he just disappears into the depths of this basement, not to be seen or heard from for hours, sometimes even days. The basement contains secret sexual behaviors, porn affairs, massage parlors, online stalking, a completely different version of your husband, someone the family wouldn't even recognize, hidden relationships, conversations, and activities. There's basically a whole separate reality down there, unknown to anyone else. Based on Dr. Minwalla's research, here's a list of some of the common abuses involved in deceptive sexuality. These are the tools that the man who has built that secret sexual basement underneath your home uses to protect his acting out. 1. Making the decision to lie. 2. Blaming the victim. 3. Deflecting. 4. Sexual entitlement. 5. Covert tactics of domination and control. 6. Systematic gaslighting. 7. Lack of demonstrated remorse. 8. Pathologizing the victim's reaction. 9. Denying that there is a problem. 10. Minimization of the problem and its related behaviors. These abusive behaviors are used for covert domination and control. The end result is that they create fear, a sense of insecurity, and trauma in their victims. Betraying partners use psychological manipulation to control the flow of information, while emotional abuse shows itself in behaviors like blame shifting and demonstrating resistance to painful realities. If you've been experiencing abuse due to your partner's deceptive sexuality, you can download a free abuse tracker worksheet from the link in the description. You can also grab a free Trigger Buster PDF while you're at it. Here are 2 examples of emotional and psychological abuse from my betrayal experience. There was one time about 13 years into our marriage when Noah was exhibiting some serious signs of depression. One day he was even unable to get out of bed, so I was comforting him, very concerned. I thought it was related to him being stressed out about money or the pressures of life and family. While he gladly soaked up the sympathy, he didn't tell me what one of the main reasons for him feeling that way really was. His sexual acting out had brought him to an all-time low, wallowing in toxic shame and guilt during what he later would call his rock bottom. This was a form of emotional abuse, playing on my sympathy to make him feel better without actually having to come clean about the fact that he was an addict. Another incident involved him asking to use our joint money to purchase a health-related activity. It seemed benign to me at the time, but I later would learn that the health-related activity was really just one of his acting out behaviors. That abuse falls under the category of psychological manipulation. In the book, Why Does He Do That? Inside the Minds of Angry and Controlling Men by Lundy, Bancroft, the author describes 10 different types of abusers. Here are 2 of the types he describes. You might even recognize some of the personality traits in your betraying partner. The first is Mr. Right. Some of his central attitudes are: 1, you should be in awe of my intelligence. I know better than you, even about what's good for you. 2, your opinions aren't worth listening to. 3, when you disagree with me, you are mistreating me. 4, if I put you down enough, someday you'll see. The second example is what Bancroft called the victim. Some of his central attitudes are: everybody has done me wrong, especially the women I've been involved with. Poor me. 2, it's justifiable for me to do whatever I feel you are doing to me, and even to make it worse so that you get the message. 3, I've had it so hard that I'm not responsible for my actions. The health consequences of living with deceptive sexuality are profound and mirror what we see in other forms of domestic abuse. Research shows that betrayed partners often develop what's called deceptive sexuality trauma, which includes hypervigilance, constantly scanning for threats and lies, intrusive thoughts and flashbacks about discoveries, sleep disturbances and nightmares, and difficulty concentrating or making decisions. Living in an intentionally manipulated reality also creates complex trauma because it happens over months or years. This happens when your nervous system is constantly activated, trying to make sense of conflicting information. This can lead to physical, mental, and relational consequences like chronic fatigue, digestive issues, autoimmune flare-ups, depression and anxiety, suicidal ideation, isolation from friends and family, and the inability to trust others. Unfortunately for women experiencing these types of abuses, society can actually have a blind spot. Our culture normalizes male sexual entitlement. Men are taught from a young age that they're entitled to sex and sexual variety. In television and movies, men are often idealized as players, and porn portrays male dominance as exciting rather than harmful. Then we have the boys will be boys mentality. When men engage in sexual acting out, society often just shrugs it off as biological inevitability. They say, men are visual creatures. Men have needs. It's just how men are wired. This narrative excuses the abuses and puts the burden on women to accept unacceptable behavior. The focus is often on the sexual act rather than the abuse system. Most people, including many therapists, focus only on sexual behavior, the affair, the porn use, rather than seeing the entire system of deception and manipulation that surrounds it. It's like focusing on the tip of the iceberg while ignoring the massive structure underneath it. Victim blaming and codependency models are used when addressing the abuse. Too often, betrayed partners are told they're codependent or that they somehow contributed to their partner's behavior. This is victim blaming disguised as therapy, and it's incredibly harmful. When society doesn't recognize deceptive sexuality as abuse, several devastating things happen. Victims are invalidated and unsupported. Betrayed partners are told to get over it, move on, or focus on your own recovery without acknowledgement of the ongoing abuse that they've endured. Friends and family often don't understand why you can't just forgive and forget. Abusers face no consequences. Without recognizing the behavior as abuse, there's no accountability. The focus becomes on the addict's disease rather than their choice to abuse their partner through deception and manipulation. Generational cycles continue unchecked. When we don't name abuse, we can't stop it. Children grow up thinking this dynamic is normal, and the cycles continue. This is why talking about the abuse involved in deceptive sexuality is so important. Studies suggest that 3 to 6% of adults struggle with compulsive sexual behavior, which means millions of partners are living with the effects of deceptive sexuality. But because we don't recognize it as abuse, these victims remain invisible. Justice and accountability requires naming abuse. We can't hold people accountable for behavior we refuse to name accurately. Calling deceptive sexuality what it is, abuse, is the first step towards justice for victims. Proper treatment depends on accurate understanding. Betrayal partners need trauma-informed care, not codependency treatment. Understanding this as abuse changes everything about how we approach healing. If you're watching this and recognizing your own experience, I want you to know several important things. You are not crazy. Though your betraying partner and society might have used several different tactics to try and make you feel that way, you're not crazy. Your instincts were right. Your body was trying to protect you. When you're finally able to put names to the abuse, you will slowly make your way back to being empowered. It's not your fault. Abuse is always the abuser's choice. You didn't cause it by being too suspicious, too trusting, too sexual, or not sexual enough. The problem was never you. Healing is possible. Post-traumatic growth is real. You can not only heal from this, but actually become stronger, more authentic, and more connected to your true self than you ever were before. You deserve truth and authentic relationships. You deserve a partner who chooses transparency, who shares information willingly, who takes responsibility for their own actions, and who prioritizes your emotional safety. Don't let anyone convince you to settle for less. Here are 6 actionable steps to get you to safety if you're experiencing emotional abuse. 1. Trust your instincts. Start paying attention to that voice, that little voice inside your gut. Your intuition is your survival system working. If you feel like your intuition is broken, you might want to check out my video about gaslighting, where I give tips about how to rebuild your intuition. 2. Document the abuse. Keep a journal of incidents, gaslighting, lies, discoveries, emotional manipulation, and/or other verbal types of abuse. This helps you see patterns and validates your reality when you start to doubt yourself. 3. Build your support network. Connect with other betrayed partners who understand what you're going through, and find a betrayal trauma-informed therapist. Reach out to trusted friends and to family members. 4. Establish boundaries. You have the right to set limits on what behavior you'll accept. This might include demanding full disclosure, access to devices, or therapeutic or legal separation until your partner gets serious help. 5. Prioritize your safety. If you feel physically unsafe, contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline. If you feel emotionally unsafe, you can use the Crisis Text Hotline. 6. Focus on your own healing. This isn't about fixing your partner or relationship. It's about you reclaiming your life. Invest in trauma therapy, self-care practices, and rebuilding your sense of self. Remember,
You are not alone in this experience. There are others like me who have come out from underneath betrayal trauma abuse, helped demolish the secret sexual basement, and managed to break ground on a new stable foundation for a healthy relationship. The bottom line is that you deserve to be in a healthy and loving house where, if there is a basement, it's just full of dusty old roller skates, extra paper towels, and holiday decorations. If you liked this content, please share this video with others and like and subscribe to this channel so the algorithm can help me get these resources out to other betrayal trauma survivors. Don't forget to download the free Trigger Buster PDF and the Abuse Tracker worksheet. The links are in the description. And let me know in the comments below if there are other topics around betrayal trauma that you'd like me to tackle. Thanks for letting me be part of your self-care today. See you in the next video.